It's the Locked On Flyers podcast for Wednesday, April 9th, your daily dose of Flyers news, analysis, and high quality content that is really wondering if Bradshaw is going to get a true shot at that head coaching job.
Good question.
You're Locked On Flyers, your daily podcast on the Philadelphia Flyers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, and thanks for making Locked On Flyers your first listen every day. I am Rachel Donner. I've been podcasting about the Flyers, the NHL, and hockey for a decade. I'm here with prospect expert and Flyers credentialed reporter for 19 years, Russ Cohen. To keep up with our latest episodes in Flyers news, you can find us at Locked On Flyers on all your favorite socials, and of course here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We are going to preview tonight's matchup against the somewhat discombobulated New York Rangers, and we will get to your mailbag questions. Want to touch on what Bradshaw had to say at practice yesterday and how that relates to his potentially getting that head coaching gig, as well as check in on some prospects. So lots to get to today. Ollie Lixell did in fact clear waivers, so he's going to be back with the Phantoms. Still leads that team in points despite playing about 15 games less than probably most of the other guys. But there you go.
Good for him. No, good for him. He really does well at that level.
He does. He really does. A lot of people call him a tweener, and it's not a bad assessment at this point. But we do wish more for him. That is for sure. Bradshaw at practice yesterday, I think he's trying to dance around this. Does he want the head coaching gig question or not? He was asked a little bit more directly about it, that it's kind of like an unspoken thing with Danny Briere. And it's like, it is fascinating because this is an audition, but it's really hard to audition in the waning games of a season where you're officially eliminated, right?
Well, but it's more than some guys get as far as a chance. This is a good news, bad news thing. The good news is he's in there. He's coaching the guys. They look at him. The bad news is if Rick Tocchet becomes available, it doesn't matter what Brad does. Like, that's just the reality. So it's like it won't even be his fault if Rick Tocchet parts ways with Vancouver and becomes the Flyers head coach and he doesn't get hired. Like, that's not on him.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a circumstance that's beyond his control. I think he wanted to just put out there, though, in what he was saying, that he can handle the pressure of this gig. He talked about being booed and that it's good to be booed sometimes, and the fans deserve a good product on the ice, essentially. And that he also, I think, more than indirectly, I would say, who's very clear that he would really like a shot at an NHL team where he can start doing things his way from scratch, like from development camp through training camp, and see what develops from there. That, he wouldn't do a rope test like Torts did, but he would have a tough camp. And I think, he's trying to put out these little nuggets of what he would be like as a head coach to try and at least give himself a better chance.
Yeah, you got to do it. I mean, this is his one shot. He's not the youngest guy, so he's got a chance to do it. And it's good for him to do it.
Yeah, I thought it was also interesting in talking about the current games that the team has played since he's taken on the interim head coaching gig. And he thinks that there's a smarter, more team-based game that the Flyers can play, that those couple of games where they scored a lot of goals were actually not that great in terms of structure and systems.
Yeah.
And that was unsustainable, which is what played out, as we saw, and that it's sometimes really hard to keep up those habits after you've been officially eliminated. But it's just important to be professional and cohesive for the last 5 games, which again is a message for the players, but also for Danny Briere to be like, no, I think about these things, right?
Right. Yeah, that's something where it's smart for Brad to say it so the players can't check out, but he could only have it work if Danny holds up his end of the bargain.
Yeah.
If he doesn't, then they will check out.
Yep. Exactly. But I think the only other little nugget there was that he was asked about Garnet Hathaway and leadership in this kind of situation. And Shaw said, yeah, he's a great guy to help be a leader to keep the team going in this,
Hmm.
waning 5
Yeah.
games of the season. We talked about him as a potential bridge assistant captain
Yes.
in our discussion about team leadership last week. And it kind of falls under that
Yeah, I
umbrella.
think so. And we're all in agreement on that.
Yeah. Now, turning our attention to some Flyers prospects, I know a lot of people are really excited about the potential of Alex Bump, and he's a really good player. We'll see what's next for him as far as what level he can get to. But in the meantime, Western Michigan is in the Frozen Four,
Hmm.
which kicks off this weekend for those top 4 teams. And we'll see what happens from there and if he, in fact, winds up coming to the Flyers organization sooner rather than later. All
Well, he's
indications
going to come. I
suggest
mean,
he will.
he's
Yeah.
definitely signing, and I'm sure he's going to, if he signs, he's going to play a game. Then there'll be this rampant speculation that he can make the team next year. And we've already talked about that last show where we feel he's
Yep.
at. And it's not going to change no matter how good a summer he has and how good he might look train in dev camp and then eventually regular camp, main camp. Again, I don't think everybody should get too caught up in what his coach thinks about him. And the Flyers are certainly going to push their narrative, but he has work to do on his game. He does.
Yeah, I think especially with him, I wanna see them do it right. And if it means him spending time with the Phantoms, that's the way to go about it.
Right. I agree. I think that's the next logical step. But right now, uh, unless he signs an ATO, he can't play for the Phantoms. We've been this before. And
Right.
if he signs an ELC and they're going to let him burn a year of ELC, then he has to play at the NHL level.
Yep, that is how that works. Devin Kaplan, as we said, who's on BU, is also in the Frozen Four this weekend, but he's got 1 more year of rights for the Flyers, which they will absolutely take before they decide
Yeah, I
what to
think
do
so.
with
And that's the
him.
right move.
As far as the junior hockey guys go, of course, London is on to round 2 of the OHL playoffs. They're facing Erie, which starts Thursday. And that will be Denver Barkey and Oliver Bonk, of course. And the next interesting question is with Carson Bjarnason, because the Brandon Wheat Kings were eliminated from the playoffs. And there was an article about the end of Brandon's season that suggested that he is already on his way to Philadelphia or may already be here. And, the team has yet to officially announce what they're going to do with him for the rest of the season.
I don't even know what to say. I mean, okay. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, but that he's done in Brandon
Okay,
as far
fine.
as this article in particular is concerned.
We'll wait and see until it's official.
That's what I think as well. The other interesting topic of conversation is Carter Sotheran because his rights do expire.
Yeah.
He was a 5th-round pick in 2023. He's a right-handed defenseman, as we know, which is a premium,
Hmm.
and he's played very well. Monday was Game 7 of the Portland Winterhawks Round 1 playoff series in the WHL, which they won that Game 7. So now they are on to round 2 of the playoffs. So no decision to make in the immediate, but could be in the very near future here. He's got 4 goals and 2 assists in that 7-game series. Pretty great. He had the game-winning goal in Game 3 of the series. He tailed off a little bit the last couple of games and didn't score, but still a very excellent series overall for him.
Yeah. I mean, I'll just say if he doesn't get signed, it's a mistake.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, you cannot go wrong signing a right-handed
No.
defenseman and seeing what happens. You just can't.
Right.
Spencer Gill, who is in the queue, has been out with an injury. He had ankle surgery at the end of February, and the team said it was a 10 to 12-week injury there. So technically, if they were bringing him back a little early, which I don't think they will, but he could play in the Memorial Cup because Rimouski, his team, is
Right.
hosting it. So they're automatically in it.
Yeah.
So, stranger things have happened,
Oh,
but
sure. I mean, I hope.
I would guess that he wouldn't push it if he's not ready.
No, I don't think he would either. It's been a tough year for him, going back to when he and I and all of us got stranded in the airport, coming back from the draft, and now this. It's been a rough year. And he's had a decent year, but it's been a strange year. We could say that now.
Yeah, we talked about Jack Berglund last week, who's over in Sweden in the HA playoffs. He's on loan to a team because his regular team was knocked out. So he's been playing in that second tier Swedish league in their playoffs. He's got an assist in their 4-game series thus far. It's tied 2-2. Game 5 is Friday. I think, pretty solid, especially coming back from the injury, like we said last week.
Yeah, definitely very solid. No question about it. And yeah, I think he's got a really good future.
I think so too. And Zavragin, who was in net for St. Petersburg in the KHL, they were eliminated from their playoffs, and it was a rough series for St. Petersburg. They lost 4-2. 3 of those 6 games went to overtime. Zavragin himself was 1-2 in that series and had a .913 save percentage. But it seems like his hockey season is not over.
No. Although that was the same thing everybody thought about Ivan Demidov, and now he's heading to the Canadians. Like, you never know what's going to happen. And when we say things in these leagues, things could literally change overnight. Even though they tell you one thing, the next day you wake up and it's like, oh, that's not happening at all.
Right. In theory, he's got 2 more years on his deal in the KHL, but as we know with Michkov, who knows?
Who knows?
Right?
Like, I'm not going to say definite for anything anymore. Nope.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, the Flyers do face the New York Rangers tonight, and we are going to talk about them and some interesting coaching rumors that are out there coming up next. Are you looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts, and each 1-ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help you feel fuller longer. And personally, I love the no shells variety. It's the perfect grab and go snack for my busy days and to have at my desk while I'm working. I had some friends over for a movie night a ways back, and instead of popcorn, we had bowls of a variety of their flavors, which everybody loved. But the Wonderful Pistachios chili roasted no shells and the sea salt and vinegar no shells were the biggest hits. So delicious and healthy too. Wonderful Pistachios is a complete protein providing all 9 essential amino acids, and these little green wonders pack a protein punch. So get snacking and get cracking with a snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. On tomorrow's show, we will, of course, recap this game against the New York Rangers, and we're going to do a draft prospect profile on Malcolm Spence, who's another one I'm excited to add to our list. We have a spreadsheet of all of the draft eligible prospects that we have covered thus far and will cover. It's in Google Sheets. There's a link to it in our show notes, as well as it's pinned to our Blue Sky and Twitter profiles. So easy to get to, and you can listen to over 20 prospects that we have profiled thus far, which is pretty good. The New York Rangers, though, are not pretty good at the moment. They are looking like they're not going to make the playoffs. They're 6 points out of it right now.
They've been done for a while.
Yeah. It's just been a disappointing season, to say the least. Is this season something that you would call a disaster for the Rangers?
Yeah, it's a disaster. It started with the whole Jacob Trouba stuff over the summer. Then they force him into, lifting his no move. He gets moved. Then you get all these other things. Eventually, you have Chris Carter playing hurt, and some fans are saying like he's just not good anymore and he's going to end up getting traded, which is true. That probably will happen, but not because he can't play anymore. That's just because of everything that happened in the Rangers locker room. So then, they make some trades. They don't get that great a return. And Peter Laviolette says, I don't even go in the locker room anymore. So that's where we're at.
Yeah, that's a huge thing, and that's what has led to some coaching rumors out there, and some calls from some corners of the internet for John Tortorella
Yeah, I
to
don't think that's
return to
happening.
the New York Rangers. Listen, we have to talk about it
Oh,
though,
sure, we could
because
mention it all day long. I just don't think it's
yeah,
likely because
I
I
don't think
think
so either.
yeah, I just don't feel like he's gonna wanna go into that fishbowl again. I feel like
Right.
if he's gonna do one more shot, he's gonna do it with a team with a clear-cut chance to win a cup. They don't have a clear-cut chance to win it next year.
Yeah, the only thing that I think is appealing about that job for him right now is that it's close to his home,
Sure.
right? That's it.
But saying
And
Connecticut's close to New York is like a misnomer too, depending on the day of the week and traffic and
we're where in
all that.
Connecticut, but
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, I get that. It's just again, it's just a proximity thing, but
Sure.
I don't think there's a good situation. Now, I wonder if Laviolette is gone though at the end of this season.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's trying to get out. Whether they fire him or not, I don't know. But I think he'll probably get fired. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. But the other thing is that they are pretty much even at home, 18, 18, and 3, which for that building is also very bad.
Oh yeah. Yeah, this is a game where, now you might see Jonathan Quick in this one. He is coming
Hmm.
back next year. Either way, the Flyers don't get a break on the goalie. Like they're going to face a good goalie either way. So this is a game where uh, you're going to have to really either take a lot of shots or take a lot of great shots because I've seen Shesterkin prop up the Rangers in big games this year
Yep.
just to sort of fakely keep them in it. And Quick is still capable of doing the same.
He absolutely is. Keandre Miller has been day to day, so not sure if he's going to play, which is of significance on their blue line for sure.
Yeah, it's a
So
bad
that's
blue line.
something.
It's not a good blue line at all anymore.
No, no, which is just seems so impossible considering, Fox has been their leading defenseman, but even he hasn't been
He's
playing
had an
as
off
well
year
this year.
too. You
Yeah,
got Carson Soucy, who really can't skate.
right.
They got some issues. Will Borgen can play, and he's pretty good. And whether Zach Jones gets in now because he could really skate, he's actually pretty good. They just haven't really used him right at times. They'll give you three good defensemen, and the other three are like, eh.
They got demolished by the Lightning 5-1 in their most recent
And really
game.
by the Devils the game before. I was at that game, and yeah,
Yeah.
they never even competed well in that game either.
Yeah, so they were shut out 4-0 by
Yeah.
the Devils, and then the Rangers gave up 3 goals in 105 seconds in that Lightning game. Like, brutal,
Yeah, that's bad.
brutal game. And, especially, like, with Shesterkin in net, that's like you have to have pretty severe defensive
Oh,
breakdowns
yeah.
for 3 goals to
Oh,
go
yeah.
in less than 2 minutes on Igor Shesterkin, right?
Yeah, no question about it. I mean, this ship is just about at the bottom of the ocean at this point.
Yeah, so it is a very fascinating kind of game between a Rangers team that's essentially out of it and is just demoralized versus a Flyers team that's kind of known they were out of it for longer and has been playing with house money and they have a new coach. So, or like a new semi new coach, I guess you would say. And they're just kind of trying some new things. We talked about the 5 forward power play that they've been trying yesterday, and they switched up the D pairings a little bit recently. Is this like a good time for Flyers experimentation against this kind of New York Rangers team again? And like, what can the Flyers do here, do you think, that'll make this game useful for them?
I mean, I think they could do some experimentation. I think Panarin's going to be aware that Michkov is coming in. And if Michkov is having a good game, he's going to try and match him. So it's
Yeah.
not like Panarin's just going to, not play. So you have that. The Rangers still on the power play can be dangerous. So you do have that. I think, if the Flyers want to mess around with their D pairs, they can. Some of the better players for the Rangers lately have been Johnny Brodzinski,
I know.
and so like that's a guy who's never going to give up no matter what the circumstances are. So, and Will Cooley has been good all year too. So there's, they do have guys you have to watch out for. They have size and speed still, except on defense. Like Carson Soucy may
Right.
be the slowest defenseman in the league. So it's a weird mix.
Yeah, it's interesting because obviously Gabe Perreault is their new
Yeah.
signee, right? Who joined the team after his college season ended, and they had started him on the second line,
Yeah,
and
with Miller. Yeah.
with Miller in his most recent game, he was on the third line, which makes sense. Obviously,
Yeah.
they're just trying to mix it up and see where it makes sense. But I think on the Flyers side of things, it seems like Dorwart is just going to stick on that fourth line with Delorier and Hathaway, which to me is just still such a mistake.
It is. I wish they would change up the partners a little bit, or sub out Delorier and put somebody else in, something like
Yeah.
that. But I guess they're not. Perreault is he's skating well. He doesn't fight through checks very well. So if the Flyers are physical, that'll slow him down. If they're not physical, he could produce. I mean, he's gonna he has good puck control. He has a great shot. So you do still have to worry about that. So we'll see. I mean, it depends. The Flyers haven't been very physical lately. So this is a time where I think they're going to have to be physical, because then that would go a long way. And I'm saying be physical, but I'm not saying be it like Garnet Hathaway stupid, which could happen sometimes. And you don't want to like give this team a reason to all of a sudden come at you full bore. That could happen
Yeah.
too, just because of the
Yeah.
dislike that they have for each other. So you got it as a fine line here.
Right. Absolutely. All right. Well, we'll see how it plays out tonight at Madison Square Garden. In the meantime, y'all have some excellent mailbag questions. We're going to start out with a new coach discussion, and we will do that coming up next.
Do you have trouble sleeping? If so, you're not alone. That used to be me, lacking rest, tossing and turning. I was late for meetings. I never felt like myself. That's until I found Bare Mattress. Bare Mattress and their sleep recovery technology helped me fall asleep faster, as well as enjoy deeper sleeps. I felt like myself again, and you can too. Bare Mattress knows that every sleeper is different. That's why they have their sleep quiz on their website that finds you your perfect match. As a side sleeper, I matched with the Elite Hybrid mattress, and I've been telling everyone in my life they have to try Bare Mattress risk-free. You can sleep on your Bare Mattress up to 120 nights, and if you're not getting the best sleep of your life, you can get it refunded. They'll pick it up with absolutely no hassle. So go to bearmattress.com and use my promo code LOCKEDONNHL at checkout to get 40% off site-wide. This offer is not available anywhere else. You have to use my promo code on the very last page of checkout to get this discount. That's bearmattress.com. Use my promo code LOCKEDONNHL for 40% off site-wide. Bearmattress.com, promo code LOCKEDONNHL.
Okay, so a lot of y'all have some really interesting theories and thoughts about the new coach. We have talked about Rick Tocchet already on the show, and we mentioned Peter Laviolette potentially getting fired at the end of this Rangers season. And Paul is asking us, if Coach Lav gets let go by the New York Rangers, would the Flyers give him another shot? And does Shaw or Lappy have a chance of getting the head coaching job?
I would say 0 chance for Lappy. Shaw has some chance. The way you'd have to rephrase this question is, would Peter Laviolette be open to coming back to the Flyers? Because he was very upset the way he was let go the last time. And I don't think he would, to be honest.
I don't think he would either. I think there's something to be said for there being a completely different management group, even at the upper levels, with Dan Hilferty and something like that.
Right.
So I wouldn't necessarily put it at 0, but
it's
I
not
maybe
0, but I think that's
but it's like
a fence they'd have to
2%.
mend. Yeah, it's a fence they'd have to mend.
Yeah, so I think it would be a very long road to that, and it kind of depends on what the Flyers process is there. But stranger things have
And
happened.
the Rangers would have to grant permission because they'll be under contract with them.
Yep, that is also true. Brendan asks us, is it wrong to think that it might be a good idea to run a season with Shaw and then sign the next coach? Shaw seems to be coaching in a teaching way that the younger players need and has a lighter hand on the leash. Perhaps a year or two of his teaching and ability will help.
I don't disagree with that, but I think when you're trying to sell this summer of free agency and those kinds of things to the larger group of the fan base that maybe doesn't want that, I think it's a tough sell. So I don't think it happens because of that.
I think so. I think that's a fair point. Paul also asked us about Travis Sanheim related to our conversation about Flyers leadership we had last week and said, I would like to see Sanheim get an A as we need a defensive leader on this team, regardless of how quiet he may appear. Most improved Flyer award should go to Jamie Drysdale. And I think that Drysdale point is a very good one. I think he has been very much improved this
He
year.
has.
And I would not disagree with it if that's who gets the award at the end of the season for sure. And yeah, I mean, I brought up Travis Sanheim as getting the A because it'd be good to have a forward with the A, Travis Konechny and Travis Sanheim with the other A, and to have the Travi be the alternate captains would be fun in and of itself, regardless of the leadership. But yeah, Travis Sanheim is so thoughtful, and
He is.
in my conversations I had with him at Four Nations, just he just has such a good head on his shoulders and knows about playing different roles. And I think he could help motivate the rest of the blue line there.
Yeah, I have no problem giving it to him, and I can't comment on the awards because I know some of the results now. So
Got
that's
it. I will keep that to ourselves then. We also got a comment thread about Heikki Ruohonen as one of the prospects. We didn't talk about him in our first segment on today's show just because his rights expiration is so much further down the pike. It doesn't happen until 2030. He's got a much longer development path.
Yeah.
So we were kind of focusing on guys that may or may not join the team sooner rather than later. But at Big Juicy Germ, very cool username, wanted to talk about him and said, I think he's taken to a new country and league very well. That's the USHL.
Yep.
And really turned his season around after not consistently producing earlier this year. And yeah, that is 100% true.
Yeah, I mean, I caught up with him at the World Juniors. I like his head on his shoulders. I like his play, but he is so young that I don't think people should get overly excited about him because the last thing you want to do is rush this guy. He has some talent, but you want to let all those other parts of his game kind of come together at the same time, and that takes time. So let him take that time, let him play some more World Juniors and all those other things that are down the road, and then, yeah, I think you'll see him.
Yeah, so the USHL season ends this Saturday. The playoffs begin April 14th. He's got a goal in each of his last 4 games, which is pretty impressive. 4 goals and 3 assists in that 4-game span, and he's taking more shots on goal as a trend, I think, over the last several weeks, which looks really good.
He does need to shoot more at times. He has talent and he forgets sometimes, but also again, depending on the team he's on, sometimes he gets put in a different role too.
Right. But again, he's taking more shots now, so it seems like that's heading in the right direction. We do know he's going to Harvard, so like I said, it's pretty far off from him being within the Flyers organization, but we love his development thus far and looking forward to seeing what he can do.
Yeah, and I'll definitely keep an eye on him at Harvard. I'll cover Princeton, Harvard, and see what he's doing. Yeah,
sounds good. Mario asked, the Flyers have plenty of players who do a lot of things well except score. It's time this team drafts a few of those pure goal scorers, even if they can't play a bit of defense. Are there any players in this year's draft who fit the description of a pure goal scorer?
Pure goal scorer. For snipers, that's the thing. It's not every draft has a sniper. And let's say for argument's sake, they're going to draft 5th. I mean, Frundell has a great shot. He has one of the better shots in the draft. Could he be a goal scoring center like Dylan Larkin? Yeah, maybe in a perfect world. So I think maybe I would have my sights set on him. I mean, I would say the next guy after that is Victor Eklund. Eklund does have a lot of oomph on his shot and a lot of, playmaking ability too. So I would say one of those two, one of the 2 Swedes.
Those Swedes were the first that came to mind when we did
Yeah.
a show profiling both of them. The link is again in that spreadsheet that's in our show notes if you want to go back and listen to what we had to say about them there. Just a button on the Alex Ovechkin goal scoring record here, which by the way, Russ was correct about that he was indeed going to break the record at the Islanders game. So stick taps to you for
Yeah.
correctly.
Even though I didn't
Uh,
get there, but that's all right. Yeah. That's the
that
way it
is
works sometimes.
okay. Yeah, it was actually pretty cool.
It
And
was.
even though it might have been funny to have the goal be some weirdo circumstance like bouncing off his shin or something
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that, the fact that it was scored the way it was, where it
Legit.
was, like
Yeah.
legit, that makes me happy, honestly.
Yeah, and I like the fact that he was swimming on the ice for a minute. He's got that, youthful exuberance in him. The big thing about this though is like afterwards, everybody's like, "Oh, look, Austin Matthews is ahead of him at the same age." Okay, but you know what?
Okay.
He's still going to maybe have to get over 1,000 goals. Like that's why Austin Matthews shut it down. He's just like, "Yeah, talk to me in 8 years," and
Right.
he's right. He's right.
Yep.
Don't
He
even
is.
worry about it.
He's absolutely right. At ECW and WWF commented about the record that Ovechkin has 830 non-empty net goals. Wayne Gretzky has 838 non-empty net goals. And if you look at his all-around game, Wayne Gretzky was so much better than Ovechkin. It's not really comparable. To
It's
that,
not
I say it's not, but this is about the goal scoring record. It's not about who's the better all-around player when you're talking
correct.
about these statistical records, right?
But I'll say Wayne Gretzky had a real good comeback to Rick Bowness on TNT and said, "Boy, I would have loved to play on 3-on-3." And Wayne
Yeah.
Gretzky, if he would have just gotten the puck in 3-on-3, he
Oh
would have
my
gotten in a
God.
spot he could score at every time. Like that
Every
would
time.
be every time. So that's the thing. He didn't get that opportunity. And Ovi, last time I looked, I don't know, it was something in the 20s or something. Maybe it was a little lower. That he has 3-on-3 goals. So
Yeah.
there's that too. But he's a better goal scorer. Wayne Gretzky doesn't even call himself a goal scorer. That's the crazy
Yep.
thing about all of this.
I know. And so I think it's fair to say Gretzky has the better overall game. Ovechkin
Right.
has the goals record.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Fine by me.
Yeah.
All right, that will do it for today's show. Thanks so much for listening. On tomorrow's show, of course, we will be back to talk Flyers versus Rangers and draft eligible prospect Malcolm Spence and so much more. As a reminder, we always want to hear from you. So if you've got mailbag questions you want us to answer on the show like we did today, let us know on any of our socials at Locked On Flyers. You can email us at lockedonflyers@gmail.com or comment on our YouTube channel. I'm Rachel. I'm on Blue Sky and Twitter at rmiriam. That's RMIRIAM.
I'm Russ. I'm at Sportsology at the same socials, SPORTSOLOGY.
Thanks for making Locked On Flyers your first listen today. For your next listen, check out the all-new Locked On NHL Game Night. Every game, every night until a Stanley Cup champion is crowned. You can get local analysis on a national scale with NHL Game Night on Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Have a great day, everyone.